Thank you. I think your introduction was longer than my speech. Hello, everyone. I actually now know how you call when our first president, Nazarbayev, is always accompanying our new president, Tokayev, so you call it juxtaposition, right? That's the word of the day. Okay, so first of all, let me thank you for inviting me here, to IZRE, for contacting me, etc., and making this happen. I was actually thrilled to come here. I was kind of excited because it's a Toastmasters club. So I was going to the den of professional public speakers to give a speech. I was like, oh my God, should I do that? So I really hope you won't evaluate me, except for maybe the time, because I need to see the time. So how much time do I have?
Up to 30 minutes.
30 minutes? Okay. Or until I get hungry, maybe. I was actually looking through the book, and I was reading about Bangladeshi food, so I'm already hungry now. Right, so thank you again for inviting me. I'm really happy to be here. Yeah, so my name is Marat. I do teach at Kazgi University, Higher School of Economics. I have several subjects there, public relations, because public relations is what I do for life, for like 15 years of my career, communications, recently marketing and things like that. I also recently joined the United Nations Development Program as the communications expert. I'm really happy to, because that's my first international experience. I've never had a chance to have an international experience, and now I'm having it. I'm so happy and thrilled. And I'm also a member of Rotary Club. If you've never heard about it, it's an international charity organization. Actually, it's the biggest international charity organization. In Kazakhstan, it exists since 1993. In Almaty, the first club was opened in Almaty. And in Astana, it's been 6 years, like it's 2015. So it's since 2015. We exist here, we do a lot of charity work. So I really invite you to come one day and see how it works. We also have some traditions and agenda to follow, so we gather every Wednesday. Okay, so when Isaiah asked me what kind of topic do I want to talk about, I was like, I don't know. Maybe I should talk about my education, because I'm really a fan of education. I love studying. Like yeah, so there was some master's degrees, and probably one of the most amazing experiences that I had was my Humphrey Fellowship, which is a part of Fulbright family. And I always love studying, and that's something like, that's my passion, you know, getting, learning new things and getting new skills, etc. But then I thought, well, that's something that I've already done many times, you know, giving master classes. I think I've been to the American Corner, giving a master class about Humphrey Fellowship, etc. And you know, like last year I've done a master, like a talk about my failures, you know, like epic failures. Actually, the name was different. It was F-ups, but you know, just to be politically correct or whatever, I just, you know, chosen the title as Epic Fails. And why? You know, we all used to read these success stories, right? Like raise your hand if you've ever been to a master class or a speech of a successful person, or you've read the book or whatever, right? If you go to any bookstore, like you will see tons of books about success, you know, Apple, Amazon, or you have like a set, like Elon Musk. So these books talk about successes of people or companies or sometimes even countries, whatever. And then a couple of years ago, I've read an article. It was called, I don't remember the name of it, but it was about the so-called survivorship bias or survival bias. So it's one of the logical errors that we are, as human beings, that we have. And just to make it very shortly, because you can Google it and you can find more information about it. So during the Second World War, that's why we have this picture here. During the Second World War, the American military, they were concerned about the bombarders, whatever you call them, you know, the airplanes that go in, like military airplanes that go in and bombard Nazis. So they were concerned about the very high percentage of failures, right? So many airships went into the battle, and only few came back. So what they did some statistic research. Okay, so that was, so you can see the airplane here, and these red dots are actually the holes from the bullets. Okay, in the airplane that actually sucked through the airplane. So they've made this general picture of where the bullets hit the most. Okay, so what is the first reaction of an average human being? So what should we do, right? The initial reaction, the most common one is, of course, we should probably cover, maybe put some more protection to these parts, right? Like the wings, maybe the center, and I don't know how do you call it in English, like this is the back part. Okay, the tail, yeah, maybe the tail. That's the logical reaction. You see, okay, this is where the Germans are shooting us, so probably we should put some more protection there. And then there was a Hungarian guy, I don't remember his name, but he was a scientist. He was helping the US military with the defense systems. So he said, no. This is the logical mistake, right? Because where did you get this information from? They said, we've got it from the airplanes which came back, right? So the airplanes came back from the flight. They were damaged, maybe damaged heavily, but they survived. So it basically means that these hits were okay for those airplanes. But those airplanes who didn't come back, they were hitting other places, and that's why they didn't come back, right? So they failed. They were hit, and probably the pilots are dead or whatever. And this is the illustration of this survivorship bias. We think that if we want to be successful, we need to follow certain rules, and all these books and speeches are based on that, right? So you should wake up at like 5 in the morning. You should do this. You should read 100 books a year. So all of them are like, you should. Like, I don't know if you've read Steve Jobs' biography or, Amazon, for instance. Once I was working for a technological startup here in Astana, and I've read tons of books about startups, especially technological startups like Netflix, on Amazon, Facebook, etc. But Amazon is unique, right? Amazon is really successful, but you can't become second Amazon. There were probably tons of Amazons that failed, and unfortunately, almost nobody studies them. So people do not study the failures; they only study successes. And it's true. Like even if you talk about some simpler things, not like military, like war-related or big companies, like if you want, let's say, to lose weight, right? This is something that I'm thinking about. You have several options, and most of the times people are like, we should do something, right? We should wake up early in the morning and start running. We should go on cycling. We should go to a fitness, to a gym, right? But in reality, the more, it's my personal opinion, that's not something backed up by professionals. You should stop doing something rather than start doing something. So more effective is stop doing something. Let's say stop eating too much food, okay? So it's like, if you want to be healthier and you're a smoker, you should stop smoking. It's not about starting running, right? So if you start running and doing exercises, have a diet, whatever, but you're still smoking, you won't be healthier. Maybe a little bit, right? So then I thought to myself, yeah, that's something I need to think of myself, and maybe I can talk about that. So last year I presented this speech and I talked about my failures, although I had 1 hour to present. So today I will have like less. This is my personal style. I start slowly, but then I'm like, and then time is up, and it's like Game of Thrones. You only have 6 episodes. So I had a big epic fail once in my life, and there are 3 lessons that I learned from it, and I just want to share with you, because if I just talk about epic fails, it will be too pessimistic and depressive. So I want to talk about some lessons that I learned, and maybe that will be useful. Not the success stories, but the lessons that I learned from my fails. So it happened in 2014, like 5 years ago. Up to 2014, I enjoyed a really fast and amazing career growth. Okay, I worked for the president's administration and his president's press service. I worked in Samruk-Kazna and all these big companies, and my last job position was in Kazakhstan television and radio. Right, there's a big corporation. They have Kazakhstan television, Astana radio, whatever. Right, it's the largest state-owned media outlet in Kazakhstan. Right, like 14 channels all over Kazakhstan, whatever. And I was the vice chairman. And I even look differently. You know, there's a word in Kazakhstan, I'm 100% sure Your Excellency know, it's called agashka, right? So I was a young agashka, right? So, like, if you see my photo, it's a pity I didn't bring this photo because I have this comparing photo, you know, before and after. So before I was like really agashka, and I enjoyed myself. You know, I enjoyed myself. Life was brilliant. Life was wonderful. High position. It was interesting though. Like I really liked the job because I was responsible for international cooperation and marketing. So we went to BBC and we've signed a declaration agreement with BBC and everything was fine. And then suddenly I lost my job, and it happened due to, I would call them political reasons. So I was asked to leave because, well, you never forget the country where you live in, right? So I was asked to leave this position and I didn't have a choice. And that was a disaster for me because, you know, enjoying life, enjoying high position and high salary and everything was, I had my own car with a driver, blah, 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 whatever, right? And back in that days, it was important for me. And I was like, oh my God. You know, I was sitting the next day, I lost my job. They said, you don't have to come to the office. So I was sitting at home and was like staring at the wall. I was in a coma, in an emotional coma, because I lost my job. I had some money that I kind of in my bank account that would allow me to leave for like 3-4 months without having a job. But I was married already that time, and my daughter was I think 1 year, 5 months, and my wife was pregnant with a second baby. So it was like, oh my God, you know, it was a disaster for me because I was so shocked. I've never expected losing a job. It was, you know, like, I don't want to compare myself to people and historical figures. You remember the prince who came out of the, who later became Buddha, right? You remember the story when he was living in the palace. So that's why I'm saying I don't want to compare myself to gods. But this was like, you know, you're living in the palace, and then you're like you know, stepping outside and you see the real world and you go, wow, shit, where am I? So I had this feeling and I was so depressed, I couldn't eat. It really hit me hard. And for some of you, it was like, I lost my job or whatever, right? It's something not important. But back in 2014, it was a disaster for me. Now I'm looking at that and like, you know, but you know, it should happen to me probably. And then there were things that I started reevaluating, you know, not evaluating, revaluing. You know, I had some certain values in my life, and then I thought, something is wrong with those values. Something is wrong with my life. If I'm so depressed and shocked with whatever is happening, there's my family there. Yeah. Something is wrong. You know, something is wrong. And then this is the first lesson that I learned. Change, right? I should change something. You cannot sit there, be depressed, and continue whatever the English word, whining, winning, you know, I lost my job, what should I do? I should change something, and this is the first thing I've done. And you all know what's the easiest thing to change, do you? What is the easiest thing you can change?
Appearance?
Exactly. Appearance, the way you look, right? Because, you know, changing, because when I ask this question to some of my students and other people, I'm like, what is the easiest thing? Well, it's your thoughts, no, it's the hardest thing you change, right? But the easiest thing you can change is your appearance, the way you look. So what I started doing, I started growing a mustache and a beard. So that's not for religious reasons, you know, because people ask me like, I'm like, no, it's just a beard. I'm not holding Arlaza. I'm okay, I can eat lunch. This is the first thing I started doing, you know, and I could also save money on, you know, shaving foam. And because remember, it's just 3 months of money support that I had. And then I started, like, I was really overweight back in the days, even more than that. And I started going to the like a not very expensive, but still a gym. And I started running, and because I had a lot of free time, right? I was not working, so every day I was doing something. And it's a pity I didn't bring these compared photos, because you could see me in the gym and before when I was a Hashka, right? These are completely two different people. And later when I got a job, a really good job, I also decided to make an eye surgery, because for like almost 15 years I was wearing the glasses, and then for like 8 years I was wearing, like 7 years glasses and 8 years the lenses. And then I thought I should, like, you know, I'm tired of lenses, so I should go and make an eye surgery. And then I did that. The first thing I've done was a change. And this is the lesson that I learned. If you're facing troubles, problems, whatever, challenges, try to change something, okay? And of course, it was not only about the appearance, it was also about changing some other things. And then I thought to myself, I should probably change my profession, you know, and change the way I earn money. And there was a really good chance for me, because as a Bolashak scholar, there's a Bolashak Association, if you've ever heard about it. So it's Bolashak alumni. They organize a 10 days training for future coaches and business trainers. I've never ever thought about that. Just to be honest with you, that's a Toastmasters club. I was very shy to speak in public before 2014. Like, speaking in front of 2 person would make me crazy. I was like trembling and sweating. I'm sweating right now, but it's just because it's hot here. And a thought of speaking in public was horrible. And then I thought I should change that as well. And I went to this 10 days course. It was like a boot camp, very intensive, and our trainer, the coach, is from Ukraine, and he literally forced us to speak in public and do trainings, etc., etc. So now I'm comfortable, and I teach at the university. I calculated over 3 years I had 700 students, and it's fine. So this is another thing that I've changed, and there were some other things that I've changed in my life. So this is lesson number 1, learned. And the second lesson that I learned, and this is probably the lesson that is still very relevant, is having a goal, right? I know it sounds like thanks Cap, right? It sounds, maybe you've discussed it millions of times. You know, you should have a goal, you should set a goal. I even read a book which said you never set a goal, you know, like in the opposite view. It was interesting. But when you have that goal and you're like concentrated and you know that this goal is based on your values, that's the difference between your real goal and the goal, for the sake of the goal, you know? Like when people tell you should have a goal, and yes, I should have a goal. But it should be, if you want this goal to be real, it should be based on your values, right? I don't want to talk about that in 2 minutes. It will take a whole day to discuss. But I had 3 values. Freedom, right? Because this is the third lesson that I learned. the reason for me losing my job and having this disaster is because I was dependent. I was dependent on a certain person. I'll be honest with you. I think it was. I mean, you're recording, but I hope it won't get. I won't tell you the name of that person. But I will be honest with you. I was dependent on a person who was a high-level politician, right? And I was dependent on him, and well, hence my family. This is what I realized later, right? My family's well-being was dependent on this person, right? I was also dependent on some other things, like love for power and things like that, because I really enjoyed, as I told you, being in power and things like that. So independence and freedoms, and this is the values that are so important for me, being free and independent, financially independent, morally independent, having your own opinion and being able to protect your opinion and things like that. The second value is like, honor. All of us, we have different definitions of honor, and honor for me is something that I cannot really define. If you ask me like, how do you define honor? I won't be able to define it to you. It's something that I feel. It's like something in my guts, God's feeling. But this is my second value, and the third value is my family, my kids that I love so much. I have 2 daughters, and this is my, the ultimate value. And by the way, the order is not random, freedom, honor, family. It's like if I lose my freedom, whatever freedom, right? Even physical one, I still have my honor and my family. If I lose my honor, I still have my family, but it's called the terminal value, the terminal value. So if you lose your family, then, well, that's it. So these are the 3 values, and based on these 3 values, I have a very big goal in my life. I'm still pursuing it. I really hope I will get there someday, fulfilling this goal, and it really keeps me going. Because I have all these, and I think most of us, we have these depressing moments in our life when, things crumble down and you do not believe in things anymore. You just, I can't say I had suicidal thoughts in 2014, but I was very close somewhere there. And, but when you have this goal, which is based on your values, it keeps you going. It gives something, it gives an energy in your life. It's like, it just pushes you, and you're fine, right? It's not dragging you. Some goals are dragging you, like I should get married. Something, I should get my first million, or I should go to Harvard. These goals are dragging you, because maybe these goals are not really your own. They were imposed on you by your parents, family, friends, people around you. And like, yes, I should go to Harvard. Oh, yeah, I should go to, and I should marry. Because, and it's dragging you. But the goal that I have is pushing me. Okay, it's somewhere there, it's just pushing me, it gives me energy. And that's what I learned. And I can't say that since 2014 I'm super duper okay. That I learned my lessons, I'm so successful. No, I have my bad moments in life when I really feel myself like down, depressed, whatever. But I always remember about my values, and I always remember about my goal. And then 2018 happened. It's a change of a beat, right? In 2018, things got so wrong. 2014 was nothing compared to 2018 and just last year. And then I thought to myself, wow, something is wrong. I'm not a religious person, but I started thinking about things that are happening. Everything started, it was, I think, exactly last year in May. Do you remember there was a storm in Astana last May? Where things were just crashing down and, So my car was hit by, I don't know how you call it, it's an element of a building. It was, because of this very strong wind, this thing from the building just flew over like a very big distance and hit my car. So my door, the glass, so everything was crushed. It wasn't a disaster, but it was because I was in the middle of bad things happening to me, and I thought, oh my God. And and what really was bad is my car was the only one that was struck. And there was a big row of cars, and my car was standing like that, and there was a big vehicle, like a Jeep. It was standing, it was actually covering me from the building. But this piece flew over this Jeep and hit my car. So my car was the only, and you know what? I was actually planning to go to Kazgi University, so it happened near my house, the home where I live. I was planning to go to Kazgi University for a conference or something, and I thought to myself, I should probably use a bicycle for the first time in Astana, to use the bicycle, because I bought this, Astana bike. You've seen the Astana bike, so I bought the car the day before, prepared myself, a helmet, and I thought, okay, next day I'm gonna ride the bicycle for the first time in Astana. Let's do that. And then I saw the weather is getting worse, and I thought maybe it will be raining a little bit, so should I use the car or the bicycle? Car, bicycle, car, bicycle. Okay, I will go with the bicycle, I'm a tough guy. So if I use the car, nothing like that would happen. But my wife is telling me maybe something worse might happen if you would use the car. So what actually happened, right? So I used the bicycle, and the car was there in the parking lot, and things happened. My wife even later told me, maybe we should go to mosque and read Quran or something like that, because things are happening, because that was not the only bad thing that happened to me. I lost my job second time, actually in January 2018. And compared to what happened in 2014, it was my own mistake. I really admit that. Because in 2014, it was not my decision. I was forced to leave the job. In 2018, it was my bad. I was really responsible. I completely agree with that. And then I thought to myself, oh my God, something is happening. I should probably really go to mosque and read Quran and do some magical stuff. I don't know, yeah, nothing to say. But this is the lesson that I learned, and I can't say it's the fourth lesson. It's the major lesson that I learned. Life is a combination of successes and failures, and there is nothing you can do with that. That's it, right? You can have a best plan, best goals, and shit happens. But then you can have a very depressing time, like black time in your life. Winter is here, the night is full of horrors. But then, I don't know if you've seen Arias content. No, but then things get better, right? So you might be like in depression, and you have no hope for the future whatsoever. And then something good starts happening. And actually, it started happening to me in December. So the whole year was fucked. But sorry, Your Excellency. But starting from December, some better things started happening. And now I'm full of hope again, but I remember the lessons that I learned. Tomorrow, another bad thing might happen, but I'm ready. So that's everything I wanted to say. Thank you.